For Su Nanqing, life was a nightmare born from a single scheming encounter that left her pregnant and alone, surrounded by the venomous whispers of society. They called her fat and ugly, a disgrace to the prestigious Gu family she was engaged to, but through her despair she found a glimmer of hope, promising her unborn baby that she would love them no matter what. Years later, that promise manifested as her adorable daughter, Suzayo Guo, who showers her with affection. But her past is a shadow that looms large, especially when a reunion with a powerful man named Huo Juniao leads to a mountain of misunderstandings. He coldly warns her to stay away from his son, leaving her utterly bewildered. This encounter is a stark reminder of the life she was forced to leave behind, a life of betrayal and pain. Her own sister stole her crush and her possessions, and in her weakest moment, after giving birth, her father cruelly snatched one of her newborn twins from her arms, ignoring her desperate pleas. Saved from the brink of death by her loving aunt, she left the country vowing to one day return and turn the tables on them all. Now, 5 years later, she has transformed. Su Nanqing is a master of disguise, the composed queen, while Huo Juniao is a cold and arrogant CEO. Her daughter, Suzayo Guo, is a clever extrovert, and unbeknownst to them, her lost son, Huo Zioshi, is a calm genius who dotes on his sister from afar. This family of four is on a collision course, a power couple on opposite sides of a dramatic push-in. The moment Su Nanqing steps off the plane back in her home country, her daughter innocently asks if they've returned to find her daddy. With ice in her veins, Su Nanqing flatly tells the girl that she doesn't have a father. Her daughter, wiser than her years, correctly guesses they're here to find her big brother instead. Meanwhile, her former fiancé, Gu Engsun, waits impatiently at the airport to break their engagement, remembering her as a damn fatty, and sneering at the thought of how much uglier she must be now. But when he spots Su Nanqing walking toward him, he's left utterly stunned by the gorgeous woman she's become. Her daughter asks if he's there to pick them up, but he scoffs, tossing the sign with Su Nanqing's name to the ground and denying any connection to her. A cold smirk plays on Su Nanqing's lips. Some people never change. The memory of 5 years ago floods her mind. She was paraded before judgmental eyes, ridiculed for being pregnant with another man's child. Gu Engsun was disgusted, raging that he had to clean up her mess. She was locked away in a storage room, alone and afraid. And after a traumatic birth, her father tore her baby from her arms, warning her not to move or risk death. Rescued by her aunt, her resolve hardened. She returned for 2 reasons: to formally break the engagement and, most importantly, to find her stolen child. Her past immediately comes calling as her father rings, demanding she get back and stop interfering with her sister's relationship with Gu Engsun. Back at the airport, Gu Engsun tries to flirt with her, but her daughter hilariously calls him a blind uncle. As Su Nanqing leads her child away, Gu Engsun curses his luck, wishing his fatty fiancée was half as beautiful. Little Suzayo Guo mutters defiantly that her mommy isn't fat at all. Later, Su Nanqing arrives at her half-sister Su Eniying's birthday banquet. As she enters unnoticed, her mind filled with memories of her sister's treachery. She takes a seat, completely uninterested in the party, until she overhears a commotion. Her cousin Bai Lingxuan is being bullied by Su Eniying and her friends for suggesting that the damn fatty Su Nanqing actually has nice features. Su Eniying proposes a cruel bet, pulling out an old, unflattering photo of Su Nanqing. She wagers that if Bai Lingxuan can prove Su Nanqing is good-looking, she'll eat the photo, otherwise Bai Lingxuan has to. Su Eniying smirks, confident in her victory, wanting to see her supposed friend suffer for defending her hated sister. Just as the cronies are about to force the photo on Bai Lingxuan, a new voice cuts through the crowd. All eyes turn as Su Nanqing reveals herself, an ethereal vision in white. With lightning speed, she snatches the photo from Su Eniying's hand and shoves it directly into her sister's shocked mouth. As Su Eniying chokes, Su Nanqing looms over her, her eyes blazing with cold fire as she declares that a bet is a bet. A commotion erupts as a woman is cornered, warned not to cross young Master Gu's fiancé or the powerful Gu family. But before the situation can escalate, a calm hand is offered by a stunning woman with silver hair who asks if she's okay. The crowd gasps as they recognize her. It's Su Nanqing, the once overweight and forgotten daughter of the Su family, now impossibly beautiful. Across the room, her sister Su Eniying seethes with jealousy, convinced this transformation is the result of plastic surgery done to embarrass her at her own birthday party, and she silently vows this isn't over. Her father Su Hongrui and stepmother Song Lai are equally stunned by the reveal, with her father's mind immediately calculating how her newfound beauty could be used for a profitable marriage alliance. Eniying, a master of manipulation, immediately bursts into tears, clinging to her father and loudly accusing Nanqing of getting pregnant before marriage, claiming this is the real reason young Master Gu broke off their engagement. She points an accusing finger at Nanqing, calling her a disappointment to the family. Enraged by the public humiliation, her father raises his hand to strike her down. But the stepmother quickly intervenes, reminding him of their audience before he orders Nanqing to follow them upstairs. As her supposed family turns their backs on her, Nanqing watches them go with a cold, detached expression. In a private room, her mind feels dazed and heavy with sleep as her father lays out his demands. He informs her the Gu family engagement is officially broken, but her sister will be taking her place. And as a dowry and birthday gift, Nanqing must sign over the company her mother left her. Her sister smirks, adding that since Nanqing brought shame to the family, giving up the company is only fair compensation, sliding a transfer contract across the table. A flicker of fire returns to Nanqing's eyes as she reminds them that for 5 long years, she was the one trying to break the engagement while they desperately clung to the Gu family, only to now be blamed for its end. She declares that everything in this house was her mother's, and she will not give up the last 2 companies she has left with a firm and final no. Ignoring their outrage, she states she's tired and going home to her precious Zaya, delightedly agreeing to the broken engagement but refusing to provide a dowry. Her sister sneers that no matter how pretty she is, Angsung would never marry a ruined woman with a little bastard. That one word snaps Nanqing's composure. She spins around, her hand connecting sharply with her sister's face in a resounding slap. With eyes blazing with a terrifying fury, she warns her that Su Zayagyo is not a bastard, and that if she ever speaks such nonsense again, she won't be so merciful. She then turns and walks out, leaving her stunned family in her wake. As she leaves the suffocating villa behind, arriving home, she lets out a weary yawn, only to be greeted by her adorable son Zayagyo, who came out because he was craving mousse cake. She sweeps him into a loving embrace, planting a kiss on his cheek and promising him cake after she takes a quick call. As she answers her phone, her son watches with concern, warning her to be careful. The voice on the line confirms his fears, reporting that Huo Juniao, the formidable head of China's most powerful family, is gathering her personal information, and she can no longer hide now that she's back in the country. Overhearing everything, little Zayagyo's expression turns serious as he sneaks away to a laptop. Meanwhile, Huo Juniao receives a report that the renowned surgeon Antai has returned, and they've acquired her photo. Though his attention is diverted by his own son, Huo Zayaoshi, demanding mousse cake. Huo Juniao, a man of immense power and presence, sighs with mild exasperation and tells the boy to get changed, before ordering his assistant to check the surveillance footage of their floor. At that very moment, Nanqing is on the phone with a friend who gushes about how handsome Huo Juniao is, but Nanqing dismisses it, hanging up to get her son's promised cake. She opens her door and bumps straight into a hard chest, looking up to see the very same Huo Juniao holding his son. He looks down at her with cold indifference, telling Miss Su to stay away from his son and adding with brutal honesty that she is not his type. He then turns and walks away, leaving Nanqing utterly baffled and fuming in the hallway, thinking the man must be completely out of his mind. Back at the Su villa, Su Enying tearfully complains to her fiancé Angsun about how her sister ran into her. Playing the victim perfectly, she prompts Angsun to fly into a rage, who demands to know where the fatso is so he can confront her himself. Enying panics, realizing she can't let him see how stunning Nanqing has become. So she quickly lies, claiming Nanqing is just upset about giving up the company. Angsun is distracted anyway, as he receives a call from his investigator who has located the hotel of the mysterious beauty from the party. Consumed with thoughts of this new woman, he dreams of marrying her instead. Later, Nanqing is roused from her sleep by a call from her sister, who immediately screams at her for not answering and demands a decision about the company. Enying then attempts a new tactic, offering a pathetic compromise of 500,000 yuan, condescendingly asking if she's ever even seen that much money. Nanqing's eyes snap open with cold fury. The offer is an insult. She knows her mother's company has an annual profit of 5 million, and she has no intention of handing over her legacy to these greedy, unrelated people for pocket change. On the other end of the line, a woman's voice drones on, questioning why Su Nanqing isn't saying anything. Before launching into a condescending lecture, she smugly informs Su Nanqing that her pharmaceutical company is on the verge of bankruptcy and that an uneducated good-for-nothing like her could never understand the business. She boasts about being a top medical student preparing for the entrance exam for the legendary Professor Antai's graduate program. A mysterious genius surgeon. Lying in bed, Su Nanqing is utterly unimpressed, her only thought being that this woman is incredibly noisy. The woman on the phone explodes with rage, accusing Su Nanqing of playing dumb because she doesn't want to call off her engagement. With a sigh of pure boredom, Su Nanqing simply ends the call. The sudden silence a welcome relief. But now her sleep is ruined. Sitting up in her elegant nightgown, she makes a call of her own, her voice cold and decisive as she orders someone named Solo to get all the data on Menjai Pharmaceuticals. The person on the other end, the world's #1 hacker, whines that just because he owes her his life doesn't mean she can treat him like a subordinate. Unmoved, Nanqing ruthlessly asks him what his life is worth, and he immediately folds, promising the information in 5 minutes. Her thoughts are interrupted by her son, Zayagyo, shouting that he got a quadra kill in his game. She changes into a stunning outfit, and Zayagyo rushes to greet his mommy. She gives him a quick kiss, telling the maid she has something to do, and gently reminds her son not to play games all day. Her phone buzzes with a new message from Solo. The data has been sent. He also includes some gossip, mentioning that a Mr. Huo from the #1 family is offering millions to discover if the elusive anti is a man or a woman, and even offers to send a photo of the handsome tycoon. Nanqing's expression shifts to shock when the picture comes through. It's him. A flicker of recognition and something else crosses her face. A cold smirk plays on her lips as she tells Solo to pass on a message for her. In the presidential suite next door, Mr. Huo's assistant Zhu Lang reports that Solo has sent a message from the mysterious doctor. Intrigued, Huo asks what it is. Zhu Lang nervously clears his throat and explains that Dr. Antai wanted to know if Mr. Huo was looking for him so urgently because his brain required surgery. A dark aura rumbles around Huo as his temper flares. With a dangerously sharp grin, he demands to see the photo of this woman who dared to insult him, vowing to see what this detestable person looks like. Later, Nanqing warns her son Zayagyo about their new neighbor, telling him someone difficult has moved in next door and that he should stay inside. When Zayagyo asks if it's a monster, she cheekily describes him as a beautiful monster with a mole near his eye, but adds that he doesn't seem very bright. Zayagyo coolly agrees, stating he doesn't play with dummies. Waving goodbye, Nanqing leaves the suite, her mind racing. She knows Huo Juniao has been tracking Antai's identity, and living so close is a dangerous coincidence. As she opens her door and freezes, coming face to face with Huo Juniao himself, she internally panics, realizing he must have heard her entire conversation, and quickly offers a ridiculously insincere apology for joking with her child. They share a tense, silent elevator ride, and she feels his murderous aura, confirming he's as troublesome as she suspected. Huo, however, finds himself intrigued by her, noting her fair skin and her feisty ability to insult someone without using a single curse word, feeling a strange sense of familiarity as he looks at her. As they step into the hotel lobby, a blonde young master is there waiting, having finally spotted the woman he was searching for. Nanqing's face fills with annoyance, wondering why this man keeps showing up after they already broke off their engagement, but he blocks her path with a bouquet of flowers, a charming smile on his face, and he recalls being present for the birth, realizing she can use this opportunity to pump Suzy for information about the other baby. Just then, Suzy himself appears with a bouquet of flowers, calling her Miss Anne and suggesting they get coffee to celebrate their fateful meeting. As they walk, he probes, asking about the little girl he saw her with, commenting that she looks far too young to be a mother. Watching from a balcony above, Huo Juniao's subordinate fumes, complaining that this woman is not only two-timing the young master, but is also lying about her daughter being her sister. Huo Juniao's expression darkens, and with a single word, he orders a thorough investigation into her. At the coffee shop, Suzy insists he's not a scumbag before launching into a disgusting tirade about his former fiancée, calling her an illiterate, uneducated fatty who was forced on him, and declaring himself the true victim of their arrangement. Anya listens with growing boredom, remembering her mother's words that she must hide her talents to survive and feeling utterly disgusted by the Su family's tactics. Her attention is suddenly piqued when Suzy mentions a rumor that his fiancée gave birth 5 years ago to a child who was then thrown away. Her eyes narrow as she presses him for the location, but he immediately panics, dismissing it as a rumor and claiming the woman took the child abroad. Having heard enough, and he stands to leave, coolly stating she was merely curious. When he tries to stop her, she demands to know if he'll tell her the truth or not, but he can only stammer that his uncle handled the matter and he knows nothing. She walks away without a backward glance, ignoring his pleas to keep in touch and bluntly stating that it's not convenient. Back in her presidential suite, her daughter Zayagyo is deeply focused on a video game, barking orders at her teammate Little Fool to help her secure a pentakill. Anyi enters and Zayagyo's face lights up, abandoning her game to rush into her mother's arms, cheering that she's finally back and that she missed her to death. Anyi smiles, deciding to take her out for dinner to make up for it. Zayagyo excitedly declares she'll wear a gray suit, making Anyi wonder why her daughter always insists on wearing boys' clothes. In the room next door, a young boy named Huo Zayoshi is playing the same game when he realizes with a jolt who he's playing with. It's her. She's back. He's on a call with Zayagyo, who playfully calls him the little fool from next door, and asks him to play. But just as he's about to, his game abruptly ends as his partner quits. His uncle, Huo Chenny, snatches his tablet, warning him that his tyrant brother is on his way back. Ignored, Chenny tries to boast about his own gaming prowess and his friendship with the server's top player, Candy Sweet. But Zioshi simply points at a gray suit and says he wants to go to the buffet. Chenny agrees without thinking, only realizing his mistake a second too late. He panics, telling Zioshi his brother would never allow it and that going out is crossing a line. Zioshi, unfazed, simply says they just have to avoid getting caught. Instructs his uncle to call his watch if his brother returns and makes a break for the elevator. Chenny collapses in despair as the little rascal escapes, only for his blood to run cold as another elevator dings open, revealing his terrifying older brother, Huo Juniao. Huo Juniao strides in, loosening his tie and demanding to know where Zioshi is. Cornered, Chenny whispers that he's at the buffet, and a dangerous glint appears in Huo Juniao's eyes. Downstairs, Enyi is getting food when a small hand tugs on her skirt. She turns to find Huo Zioshi looking up at her, his eyes wide with emotion. With a trembling voice, he asks if she is his mommy. Enyi is confused, assuming her own daughter Zyaguo is just in a strange mood. She picks the boy up, blaming herself and asking what he wants to eat. Overwhelmed, the boy whispers "mommy" before asking with teary eyes why she abandoned him all those years ago. From afar, Huo Juniao watches his son happily tell this strange woman that she's prettier than any celebrity and that his daddy should marry her, leaving him to wonder what she's been telling him. And he sits with the boy, watching him devour an incredible amount of food, thinking her daughter is strangely well-behaved tonight. Zioshi eats his fill, knowing punishment awaits and wanting to savor every last second with his mommy. After one last piece of cake, Senyi lets out a yawn. Zioshi sees this and feels a pang of guilt, thinking he's sided with his daddy by keeping his tired mommy out so late. He suggests they go back, and Enyi leaves, holding her real daughter's hand. Zioshi returns to their table with his cake, only to find it empty. Suddenly, his father's voice cuts through the silence, announcing that his time is up. Huo Juniao scoops up the startled boy, who braces for a scolding, but is shocked when his father gently asks if he's full, a rare change of heart that leaves him utterly baffled. Late that night, a knock sounds at Enyi's door. She opens it to find Huo Chenyi, who internally marvels at her beauty before concluding she's trying to seduce his brother. He gets straight to business, arrogantly informing her that the hotel belongs to the Huo family and offering her $1 million payout to vacate the presidential suite, flashing a black card and threatening to call security if she refuses his friendly suggestion. Nanqing is met with a condescending sneer from a young man who questions if she looks poor, then threatens to have security throw her out if she doesn't accept his payoff. He accuses her of trying to seduce his older brother, claiming she spent a fortune just to live next door to him and calling her out for her scandalous past, a broken engagement, and getting pregnant before marriage. Her eyes narrow with irritation, so it's a crime just to live next door now. He declares that only a distinguished guest is worthy of staying beside his brother, and soon enough, that guest will be found. Realizing that being so close is already causing trouble, Nanqing decides it's not worth the fight. With a cool flick of her wrist, she presents her room card and agrees to move, much to the young man's smug satisfaction. He thinks she knows what's good for her, confident that the presidential suite downstairs will keep her far away from his brother, Zioshi. Half an hour later, that same young man, Huo Jingyan, stands before his brother, reporting that he's lost their target. His brother, visibly annoyed, tells him he isn't blind. Seeking praise, Huo Jingyan proudly announces that he convinced the woman next door to move, ensuring she won't be a bother anymore. Instead of thanks, his brother coldly calls him meddlesome, leaving him utterly bewildered. The third man muses on their failure to track the hacker known as Anti, wondering if there could be a mole among them. Meanwhile, in her new room, Nanqing is on the phone. She's being debriefed. Mr. Huo hired a top-tier hacker who traced her information through her contact, but thankfully her exact location remains secure. She casually advises more caution next time, yawns, and tosses her phone aside, finally ready for some sleep. Her son Zioshi peeks in, sees she's asleep, and gently closes the door. He hops onto his bed and sends a message to his gaming boss, Lil Chenchin, complaining about the big idiot who forced them to change rooms. Lil Chenchin explodes with fury, vowing death upon whoever dared to bully his boss's son. The great irony is that Lil Chenchin is none other than Huo Jingyan himself, who gets slain in-game before his boss masterfully gets a quadra kill for revenge. Ecstatic, he asks where his boss is staying and is stunned to learn they are both at the first hotel. He's about to rush over when Zioshi abruptly logs off because his mommy is awake, leaving Huo Jingyan crying out in despair for a room number. Zioshi greets his mother warmly, and they share a sweet moment before she orders takeout and sends him off to play. Her phone buzzes with a message from a stranger named Young Master Gu, inviting her for a chat at the bar. She deletes it without a second thought. That same Young Master Gu is at the bar, planning a grand confession and telling his men to invite more people to witness it. A woman named Su Manru watches him, annoyed by his recent distance. But her mood flips when she receives his mass text about a surprise at the bar. Overhearing his men whisper about a proposal for his fiancée, she's overcome with joy, convinced it's all for her. In the lobby, she spots Su Nanqing picking up a delivery and sneers, wondering how she could possibly afford this hotel. She confronts her, accusing her of planning to seduce a rich man. Su Nanqing coolly deletes yet another text from Gu and retorts that at least she has a face worth freeloading with, enraging Su Manru. Su Manru then plays her trump card, offering to reveal the location of the child Su Nanqing supposedly abandoned if she comes to the bar at 8. She walks off, confident that her rival will come watch her triumphant proposal. A cold smile plays on Su Nanqing's lips. She'll see exactly what her dear sister and ex-fiancé have prepared. Later at the bustling bar, Su Manru's friends gossip about the engagement, blaming that damn fat woman for delaying the marriage. Their chatter stops when Su Nanqing appears. Su Manru immediately accuses her of crashing the party and publicly shames her for getting pregnant before marriage. She demands to know where the child is, then leans in with a venomous smile, telling Su Nanqing to sit down, watch the performance, and offer her blessing in exchange for the truth. Su Eniying tells Su Nanqing to sit down and watch the grand performance, smugly asking for her blessing with brother Angsun. But inside her mind, Su Nanqing sees this pathetic display for what it is. A proposal scene crafted purely to humiliate her, a clown show she's more than willing to observe. She coolly takes a seat, gesturing for them to begin their little act, her utter calmness infuriating Su Eniying, who wonders if her sister was always this arrogant. The onlookers whisper that young Master Gu must have spent a fortune on this, and that Su Eniying must be stirring up trouble because she's not over him. Su Eniying leans in close, sneering at Su Nanqing about her past, reminding her of when she was fat and constantly trailing after Angsun. She gloats that now, even though Su Nanqing is thin, it's far too late because Angsun has fallen for her. The taunts continue, a pity about her pretty face, now attached to such baggage, sparking a chilling realization in Su Nanqing's mind. Su Eniying's mother must have been behind the hormone injections that plagued her youth. A cold fury begins to simmer as she recalls she was only 5 when their lives were entangled by a marriage contract. Just then, the lights dim and Gu Angsun steps onto the stage with a guitar, sending the crowd into a frenzy. He quiets them with a finger to his lips and begins to play a song while Su Eniying swoons over her handsome man. Su Nanqing, however, is filled with disgust, thinking what a jinx it would be to be locked together with him for eternity. After the song, Gu Angsun announces he booked the whole venue to confess something to a special girl, someone he knew was different from the moment they met. Balloons burst, showering the stage in petals as Su Eniying gloats to Su Nanqing that 10 of her couldn't compare to a single toe of hers now that Angsun is so devoted. With a bouquet of roses in hand, Gu Angsun walks through the crowd, his path seemingly leading right to a giddy Su Eniying whose heart pounds in anticipation. But then, in a devastating twist, he walks right past her, his eyes fixed on someone else. Su Eniying's world shatters as she watches him stop in front of the very person she was taunting. He offers the flowers not to her but to the unimpressed Miss N, asking if he could have the honor of being her friend. The crowd erupts in confused whispers while Su Eniying stares in utter disbelief, unable to process how he could abandon his fiancée for a fatso he'd only met twice. A faint smirk plays on Su Nanqing's lips as she savors the chaos. Su Eniying finally snaps, lunging forward with a raised hand and screaming that she's a shameless bitch. But Gu Angsun catches her arm, demanding she stop making a scene. He furiously scolds her, telling her to learn some grace and poise from Miss N. Stunned, Su Eniying asks who he's even talking about. Su Nanqing lets out a small laugh, coolly explaining that Anya is merely her English name before delivering the final blow by revealing her true name, Su Nanqing. Gu Angsun freezes, his face a mask of pure shock. Su Eniying flies into a rage, screaming that they were all tricked and that Su Nanqing did this for revenge. Losing all control, she orders her men to get her to beat this troublemaker to death. As the thugs close in, Su Nanqing remains perfectly seated, a grim smile on her face as she thinks that so many people have come here just to die, giving her a chance to finally warm up. Down in the lobby, a powerful-looking man's assistant notes that a woman is about to be ganged up on upstairs. Just as the men are about to lay a hand on Su Nanqing, a commanding voice echoes through the room, ordering them to stop. A new imposing figure in a black suit enters, halting the entire confrontation with his sheer presence. In the opulent halls of the first hotel, a tense standoff is underway as Huo Zheniao's assistant reminds a rowdy group that brawls are strictly prohibited. The entourage's sudden appearance cramps the style of the other party, whose members wonder who this imposing man is. They sneer at the rules, but when the blonde man is told the newcomer is the formidable Mr. Huo, a wave of pure terror washes over them. They instantly recognize the name Huo Zheniao, a man who could crush them like ants, and scramble to leave before he decides to punish them for their disturbance. Just as a woman in red, Su Eniying, turns to flee, a cold hand grips her arm, stopping her dead in her tracks. It's Su Nanqing, her silver hair shimmering and her eyes promise that their business is far from over. Su Anying panics, frantically telling Su Nanqing to let go and questioning if she's crazy for defying Mr. Huo's order to leave. A cruel smirk plays on Su Nanqing's lips as she mockingly observes that Su Anying still doesn't dare to fight back. With a single powerful kick, she sends Su Anying flying, her body tumbling across the polished floor. The remaining onlookers gasp at the display of sheer, brutal strength. Su Nanqing stalks forward, grinding her stiletto heel into Su Anying's hand. Before yanking her up by the hair, demanding she finish what she was going to say, Su Anying's friends scream for Mr. Huo to intervene. But Huo Zheniao merely watches, a flicker of intrigue in his eyes as he privately notes her impressive skill. His assistant, however, feels the need to interject, loudly repeating the hotel's no brawling policy. Su Nanqing doesn't even spare him a glance, coolly retorting that she's by herself and therefore not a group. A piece of logic so audacious it leaves the assistant speechless, with her enemies frozen in fear. Su Nanqing's mind burns with a single thought. She only wanted information about her child, but these disgusting buffoons keep getting in her way. She tightens her grip, threatening to beat Su Anying senseless if she doesn't start talking immediately. The threat works. Su Anying breaks down, sobbing that the child's dad took care of it and that she knows nothing more. She swears on her own vanity, promising a face full of pimples if she's lying, an oath so pathetic Su Nanqing knows it must be true. Releasing the whimpering woman, Su Nanqing walks away, a touch of regret creeping in that she got physical and may have caused Huo Zheniao to lose face. She considers offering an explanation, but the exhaustion of the day hits her all at once and she lets out a massive yawn instead. Huo Zheniao's assistant is aghast, seeing it as a blatant provocation, but she calmly states that only an idiot would provoke Mr. Huo. Huo Zheniao observes her, intrigued by the contrast between her fierce decisiveness and her current listless state, before silencing his chattering assistant with a sharp command to be quiet. Elsewhere, Huo Zheniao's younger brother, Huo Chenyu, eagerly awaits his online gaming boss at a coffee shop, only to be shocked when a voice tells him to look down. There stands a small boy, Huo Zioshi, who declares himself the boss. Huo Chenyu is utterly stunned to realize the pro gamer he's been playing with is none other than his own nephew. A cold dread washes over him as he imagines his terrifying older brother finding out he's been secretly gaming with his son. A quick glance at his phone confirms his worst fears. It's late and his brother is likely already home. He scoops up the boy and makes a mad dash for home, hoping to get Zioshi settled with his homework before they are both killed. He arrives just as his brother walks in, breathing a silent prayer of thanks that Zioshi is already sitting quietly with a book. Meanwhile, Zioshi, denied access to the top floor, feels a pang of hurt, wondering if his daddy doesn't like him anymore. He decides to take the stairs and runs directly into his mother, Su Nanqing, who is just returning. He happily hugs her leg, deciding to confront his father another day and asking if he can sleep with her tonight. The following day, Su Nanqing is woken by a call from her father, who immediately accuses her of ruining her sister's proposal and then assaulting someone. He demands she come home and apologize, yelling that everything is always her fault. Su Nanqing is about to hang up when her father delivers a devastating blow. Her aunt has a brain tumor and is in the hospital. Her expression hardens instantly, and she promises to be right there. Back in the chaotic Huo household, Huo Chenyu's escape is cut short by his brother. Panicked, he blurts out that they need a heart-to-heart talk, and in a moment of sheer desperation, suggests that perhaps Huo Zheniao doesn't even like women. A piece of gossip so earth-shattering it leaves his brother stunned and his assistant speechless. 15 minutes later, the elevator doors slide open, and as Su Nanqing steps out, she overhears two women gossiping. They coldly discuss the cruel punishment of the young master, justifying it by claiming he has autism and his stoicism is just him being tough. One of them smirks, revealing they didn't even give the boy lunch, planning to see how long he can last without saying a word. A wave of unease washes over Su Nanqing. Though she tells herself it's not her place to meddle in President Huo's family affairs, her heart feels inexplicably heavy. Just then, the man himself, Mr. Huo, arrives with his entourage. His assistant immediately blocks her path, sneering that he's seen her type 1,000 times, trying to thank the president just to get his contact information. Utterly unimpressed, Su Nanqing shoots him a withering look, now convinced she shouldn't have gotten involved at all. With a sharp turn, she advises the assistant to tell Mr. Huo to see a neurologist, coolly informing him that narcissism is an illness that needs to be treated before walking away with a satisfied smile. Her problems, however, are far from over. In a hospital ward, her uncle shoves a contract in her face, demanding she sign over the company and apologize to her sister. He viciously threatens her, declaring he won't save her aunt's life if she refuses. Her frail aunt tries to get up, her voice weak as she pleads with her. The family piles on the pressure, explaining the aunt has a brain tumor and the only surgeon willing to take the risk is a friend of her cousin's fiancé. The price for this life-saving surgery is simple: Su Nanqing's company and her groveling apology. Her aunt, enraged by their shamelessness, screams at them to stop their lies, then turns to Su Nanqing with tears in her eyes, confessing that her illness is incurable and the surgery has a 90% chance of failure anyway. With a heavy heart, Su Nanqing places the medical records down, agreeing not to sign and promising to visit again soon. As she leaves, she clenches her fists, her mind racing. She knows the surgery is nearly impossible for anyone, except for her. Behind her, her uncle continues to shout, calling her an ungrateful wretch who won't even spare a glance for the woman who raised her. Meanwhile, in a presidential suite, young Huo Zich is being tormented by his tutor. She scolds him for not completing his homework, which contains problems far beyond his curriculum, then cruelly suggests his mother's genes must be dragging down his IQ. The boy, who already knows the answers, is slapped for not writing out the steps and forced to stand as punishment. 2 hours later, the tutors conspire to report him as mischievous to his father. All the little boy wants is to talk to his mommy and the girl who moved to the floor below. Determined, he heads for the stairs and comes face to face with his own reflection, or so he thinks. But it's not a mirror, it's another boy, his identical twin. The other boy, Sumaxi, erupts with joy, declaring he's found his big brother and throwing his arms around a stunned Huo Zich. Sumaxi quickly explains that their evil grandpa threw him away, but he and mommy came back to find him. He eagerly proposes they go find their mother, but adds a crucial detail: mommy definitely doesn't want daddy. The twins sit on the stairs, piecing together their broken family. Sumaxi, now introducing himself as Xiaoguo, learns his brother's name is Huo Zich, or Xiaoshi. Together, they hatch a brilliant plan. They'll make their parents fall in love. The first step is to swap places. Sumaxi will pretend to be his brother to meet their dad, while Huo Zich secretly longs to finally see his mom. Back at the hospital, Su Nanqing finalizes arrangements for her aunt's surgery, feeling a moment of relief. But as she approaches the room, she overhears her family's disgusting scheming. Her cousin Nanqing is having a meltdown, screaming about how her mother always favored Su Nanqing with more fabric and extra money. The argument escalates until another cousin collapses to her knees, begging Nanqing to save their mother. Their father sees a new angle for manipulation, ordering his daughter to go kneel at Su Nanqing's hotel to publicly shame her into signing the contract. From the hallway, Su Nanqing's face darkens with contempt. The commotion causes her aunt to cry out in fury at her brother's cruelty. Pushing her uncle-in-law Bai Wai to his breaking point, he roars at the whole ungrateful family to get out, raising a fruit basket like a weapon as he condemns them for repaying his wife's kindness with such greed. Before smashing it to the floor in a fit of rage, Su Nanqing stands unmoved as her uncle furiously accuses her of being heartless, roaring for her to get out before slamming the door in her face. Outside, her cousin tries to console her, explaining their father is just worried about Nanqing's aunt and the company, but Nanqing remains cold, questioning if her cousin feels any sympathy. She walks away, ignoring the man's pleas, her phone lighting up with a message from Bai Lingxuan, who informs her that someone will be arriving to perform the aunt's surgery in a few days. Watching from a distance, Mr. Huo and his assistant Zhu Lang observe the scene, with Zhu Lang remarking that the Su family is truly shameless. Mr. Huo, however, finds Miss Su's cold-blooded aloofness intriguing and quietly orders Zhu Lang to check if her aunt's illness can still be cured. Later, Mr. Huo steps out of his car, spotting Su Nanqing waiting for him, and smirks to himself, assuming that now he's given her a chance. She's about to beg him pitifully for help, but Su Nanqing's mind is elsewhere, troubled by the thought of his child being bullied. She calmly gets his attention, and instead of pleading for her family, she asks about his son's private tutor. Mr. Huo is taken aback, his confident smirk faltering as she suggests he should pay more attention to his own son. A dark aura emanates from him as her unexpected words sink. Zhu Lang is utterly baffled, realizing she just refused a golden opportunity to help her dying aunt, calling her actions insane and heartless before concluding he was wrong to meddle. Meanwhile, in a presidential suite, a young boy named Su Xiaoguo is caught sneaking around by his harsh tutor. The tutor berates him for not finishing his homework, cruelly stating he must have inherited his stupid personality from his mother, before correcting herself and calling him a motherless little bastard she's about to teach a lesson. Just as she raises her ruler, another child who looks identical to him uses a device to make a beeping sound. This child, having swapped places, sees Mr. Huo arrive and marvels at how handsome and cool his daddy is. Inside, the tutor complains to Mr. Huo that the young master, Xiaoshi, is stubborn and naughty, refusing to learn and falling behind. She suggests that Xiaoshi, being introverted and withdrawn, is a fool who won't even tattle, and recommends special education methods, implying he has congenital autism that will ruin his future if not sent to a special school. The boy, listening in, thinks the teacher is despicable and vows that if his daddy agrees, he will escape this lion's den with his brother and mommy. But Mr. Huo's expression hardens. He declares that there's nothing wrong with Zhaoxi, and that if she can't teach him, he will find someone who can, promptly firing her. He orders Zhu Lang to settle her salary, making it clear she is not to return. The tutor, shocked by his abruptness, tries to defend her professional advice, but Mr. Huo silences her by adding an extra 6 months' salary to her severance. As she is escorted out, the boy watches, relieved that his daddy protected his brother but worried he was deceived by the teacher. He tugs on Mr. Huo's trousers and innocently asks if he is a little bastard with no mommy. The question hits Mr. Huo like a lightning bolt. He kneels down, his expression turning grim as he asks Zhaoxi who told him such things. The boy points directly at the departing tutor, then immediately hides behind his father, tearfully begging the teacher not to hit him anymore, claiming he knows he was wrong. The tutor freezes in horror, realizing the supposedly nonverbal child has just exposed her completely. With pure fury in his eyes, Mr. Huo commands Zhu Lang to take her out. Later, Zhu Lang reports his findings. The tutors were sent by the second household and bribed to shape Zhaoxi into a problematic child so their own children could take over the company in the future. They used psychological torment, knowing physical abuse would be discovered. Zhu Lang trembles, remarking that if even he is angry, he can't imagine Mr. Huo's rage. Overwhelmed with guilt, Mr. Huo watches his son play with cars, flashing back through the years, raising Zhaoxi alone since he was an infant, hearing the whispers about his son's developmental delays, and his mother's insistence that a single man couldn't raise a child properly. He remembers his brief joy when Zhaoxi started speaking, but also the growing strain and his own anger at his son's defiance. It was all his fault. He approaches the boy and softly apologizes. Zhaoxi immediately brightens, hugging his father and telling him it's okay as long as he knows he was wrong. In a moment of resolve, Mr. Huo declares they won't be hiring any more teachers. From now on, he will teach the boy himself. A decision that fills his son with silent, screaming dread. In another location, Nanqing finds Zhaoxi quietly reading a book. She calls him sweetheart and kisses his forehead, praising him for being so well-behaved. The boy, who is actually the real Zhaoxi, blushes, overwhelmed by her gentle affection. As she leads him toward the bedroom, she playfully asks if he wants to take a bath with mommy. The boy's face flushes with panic as he stammers no, his mind racing with a single terrifying thought. Taking a bath will reveal that he's a boy. Zhaoxi squirms out of his mother's embrace, suddenly shy as she teases him about being all grown up. He darts away in a flash, but she calls after him, reminding him that she has an important surgery in a couple of days and needs plenty of rest. He obediently agrees before his brother's words echo in his mind. His mommy's health isn't good, so he must not disturb her. Half an hour ticks by and the boy decides his mother must be asleep, tiptoeing quietly toward her bedroom door. He gently pushes it open, determined not to wake her. Inside, he sees her sleeping peacefully, and a wave of pure bliss washes over him as he crawls into bed beside her, soaking in the wonderful feeling of finally having a mommy. But the tender moment is shattered by a buzzing phone in his pocket. It's a series of frantic texts from his brother, begging him to switch back and wailing that he doesn't love their dad anymore, confirming the twin switch is in full effect. Meanwhile, at the Huo residence, the real Zhaoxi waits anxiously for a reply, hiding his phone just as his father enters the room. His father, Huo Zheniao, places a textbook in front of him, explaining he'll start with something simple since it's been a while. Zhaoxi can only stare blankly, a perfect picture of confusion. He quickly spins a tale, crying that he grew up overseas and still can't read the characters properly. Huo Zheniao remains unconvinced and flips back to material from 6 months ago, something his genius son should know instantly, but Zhaoxi just shakes his head, looking utterly guilty. Desperate, the boy suggests they study poetry instead, boasting he can recite poems. His father agrees, a sliver of hope in his eyes as he poses a question and Zhaoxi's hand shoots up eagerly. But the hope dies a quick death when the boy butchers the famous line, replacing the word warrior with handsome man. He then has the audacity to try again, interrupting another poem to praise a handsome man going to a roast duck place, before beaming and demanding praise for his efforts. That's the final straw. A vein throbs on Huo Zheniao's temple as his face twists in rage. He snarls a name, Huo Zaiqi, and the boy, now revealed as Zhaoxi, sees his father as a raging demon and flees in terror, screaming that his dad is going to murder his own daughter. Huo Zheniao slumps in defeat, lamenting how their recently improved relationship has crashed and burned. His assistant observes that the young master seems to be regressing, predicting he'll place last in the year-end assessment. But Huo Zheniao waves him off, deciding not to force the issue. He reflects that while Zhaoxi's studies have slipped, he's also become more expressive and his mental health is more important. The assistant then pivots, wondering if Miss Su is responsible for this change and suggesting Huo Zheniao give her a chance, earning a chilling stare that freezes him solid. Huo Zheniao's mind sharpens, questioning how she knew about the tutor and ordering she be kept away from Zaiyoshi, deeming her a cold-blooded woman. In another room, Zayagyo triumphantly texts his brother, boasting that his daddy was so moved by his poetry that he was let off homework. His brother simply reminds him not to forget their plan, and Zayagyo promises to complete the mission. He then runs to his father, hugging his leg and declaring him handsome. Hyo Juniao, taken aback, replies that his son is handsome too, only for the boy to correct him, stating that he is pretty, a word that leaves his father utterly baffled. Deeply unsettled, Hyo Juniao orders his assistant to summon the family doctor. The scene shifts to a movie theater, where Zaiyoshi texts his mother that they've arrived. Inside, she holds his hand, asking if he wants to take off his mask, but he insists it's to prevent getting sick, and she lovingly agrees. This idyllic scene is contrasted by a memory of Zayagyo arguing with his father over unhealthy popcorn. Soon, Hyo Juniao arrives with Zayagyo in tow, finally understanding his son's insistence on coming here. It was a setup to meet his mother. They all take their seats, but the children are seated between the adults, foiling any chance of them interacting. Zayagyo panics, wondering how his parents are supposed to date like this. He's distracted by the movie until he asks his mommy for popcorn. The mother, half asleep, groggily reaches over and feeds a piece to the boy beside her, who happens to be Zayagyo. This act ignites a cold fury in her actual son, Zayoshi, who glares at her for ignoring her own daughter to feed his son. Hyo Juniao is equally stunned, wondering what game she is playing. As her drowsiness fades, the mother's eyes finally focus, and she sees Hyo Juniao sitting next to them. She reels in shock, wondering if he suspects she's an enemy and is here to test her. Her mind races as she sizes up the situation, concluding with a single grim thought: this is troublesome. The dim light of the movie theater does little to soften the tension as Mr. Hyo appears beside Su Nanqing, his voice dripping with sarcasm about their little coincidence. He leans in, reminding her of his warning about getting too close, his patience clearly wearing thin as he accuses her of orchestrating these encounters. Su Nanqing scoffs, telling the narcissistic man that he's far from her type. Her denial only fuels his arrogance, and he coldly tells her to stop wasting her energy trying to hit on him and focus on her sick aunt instead. The barb hits its mark, but she fires back that her family's affairs are none of his business. Their escalating argument is cut short by another moviegoer who mistakes them for a bickering couple and scolds them for frightening their child. Humiliated, they fall silent, the little boy Zayagoshi shivering between them. With a final, icy warning for Su Nanqing to stay away from his son, Mr. Hyo grabs the boy and storms out of the theater, leaving Su Nanqing fuming in his wake. Outside, he sternly forbids Zayoshi from ever contacting that cold-blooded woman again, a woman who would rather watch a movie than care for her dying aunt. Zayoshi explodes in defiance, screaming that his mommy is the most caring person in the world and will save his great aunt. Mr. Hyo is stunned by the boy's fierce loyalty, wondering what kind of spell this woman has cast on his son. The argument shatters their fragile, budding relationship, and Zayoshi runs away sobbing, leaving Mr. Hyo filled with a sharp, unfamiliar pang of regret. Meanwhile, Su Nanqing arrives at Yancheng City Hospital, walking into a room thick with family drama. Her cousin, Su Ying, immediately attacks her, calling her uneducated trash for finding some unknown surgeon to perform an impossibly difficult operation. But the mood shifts dramatically when her uncle reveals that the surgeon isn't just anyone, it's the world-renowned Dr. Antai. Su Nanqing calmly explains she simply emailed a scan to the doctor, who unexpectedly agreed. As her family fawns over her, Su Nanqing excuses herself, leaving a seething Su Ying to watch her go, her own plans completely ruined. Moments later, a team of doctors arrives, led by teacher Liu. Su Ying quickly seizes her chance, lying to her professor that she was the one who contacted Dr. Antai, a fabrication that earns her a coveted spot observing the surgery. Inside the prep room, dressed in scrubs, Su Ying approaches the masked surgeon she assumes is Antai, shamelessly trying to flatter her way into a graduate program. Watching from the side, a man named Angsun internally scoffs at her pathetic tactics before calling out the surgeon's real name, Su Nanqing. Caught, Su Ying stammers a weak excuse about using her sister's name out of fear of rejection. But Su Nanqing corners her with a simple, devastating question: what is her email address? Su Ying freezes, her lie unraveling for all to see. Angsun, his eyes cold with contempt, orders the morally bankrupt student out of his sight. Alone with her patient, Su Nanqing leans over her aunt, whispering that she is Antai and that everything will be all right. From the observation deck, Mr. Hyo Angsun watches the surgery begin, noting the patient on the table. He is captivated by the surgeon's intense focus and flawless technique as she navigates the critical procedure. As the surgery concludes successfully, a minor commotion provides the perfect cover, and Su Nanqing slips out of the room. But Mr. Hyo is not so easily fooled. He immediately orders the operating floor sealed, determined to unmask the brilliant doctor. Nanqing breathes a sigh of relief in the empty hallway, thinking she's escaped, only for a firm hand to seize her wrist. It's Mr. Huo, his eyes glinting as he commends Dr. Antai on her impressive sleight of hand. He asks if she'll remove her mask, and without waiting for an answer, he pulls it down himself. The face revealed is Nanqing's. She looks at him, a faint, challenging smile on her lips, and echoes his earlier words back at him, remarking on what a coincidence it is to see him here. In that instant, his entire world shifts as he realizes the woman he despises and the surgeon he admires are one and the same. Nanqing coolly admits to the man in scrubs that it was wrong to sneak into the operating room, but she will accept full responsibility, framing her actions as those of a desperate family member. The doctor, revealing himself to be Mr. Huo, realizes she wasn't neglecting her aunt after all and proposes a deal. He'll persuade the hospital to drop the matter if she agrees to a condition. He explains his son, Zioshi, has been inconsolable since the movie theater incident, constantly asking for his mother, and he wants her to return to the hotel and play with him for just 2 hours. Nanqing is internally dumbfounded, wondering if this man has completely lost his mind after she warned him repeatedly to stay away. She flatly rejects his offer, stating she is not a childcare worker, has absolutely no feelings for him, and is far too exhausted to entertain a child, telling him his lawyer can contact hers if there's an issue. As she departs, Huo Juniao's subordinate reports they were unable to intercept the mysterious Antai. His colleague is baffled as to how Antai could have slipped away when they were guarding the exit. Huo Juniao calmly lays out 3 possibilities. Their intelligence was wrong, Antai is a master of escape, or the most unsettling option of all. Nanqing is Antai. The idea seems preposterous to his colleague, who points out her official profile claims she's uneducated. But Huo Juniao connects the dots, noting that sources say Antai's arrival was triggered by an email Nanqing sent, which would explain her unwavering confidence about her aunt's surgery. He walks away, leaving his partner to ponder the shocking theory. Elsewhere, the 2 young twins, Zioshi and Zyagyo, have switched places, with Zyagyo complaining that his strict father won't let him play games. They worry about their father's animosity towards their mother and agree to try a hard approach if their current plan fails. Back at the hotel, Huo Juniao awkwardly presents his son, who is actually Zyagyo in disguise, with a Barbie doll, a desperate attempt to cheer him up. He kneels down, suggesting they comb Barbie's hair and even asks if Zioshi knows how to braid. The boy stares back with a deadpan expression, then suddenly erupts, calling his father stupid. Huo Juniao is left completely stunned, wondering why his son's personality keeps flip-flopping so drastically from wanting a doll to being disgusted by it, suspecting that woman must be the trigger. Meanwhile, downstairs, the real Zioshi is playing games when he overhears his brother Zyochin muttering about their boss's bad mood after failing to find the anti-doctor. Zioshi freezes, realizing his father is searching for his mother. Just then, Huo Juniao appears at the door, demanding to know what Zioshi is doing there. Zyagyo, caught off guard, blurts out that his brother told him they can't acknowledge their mother until their parents fall in love. Otherwise, a custody battle will ensue. Ignoring the bizarre explanation, Huo Juniao grabs the boy to discipline him, causing him to cry out for his mother's help. A maid hears the commotion and rushes to wake Nanqing, shouting that Mr. Huo has snatched Zyagyo. As he's carried upstairs, Zyagyo panics, realizing he couldn't text his brother and their secret is about to be exposed. Huo Juniao sets him down and sternly orders him never to leave the top floor again. The memory of his own childhood kidnappings flashes through his mind, a deep-seated trauma that fuels his strict parenting. The sheer terror of what could have happened to his son paralyzes him. Seeing his father's genuine fear, the boy promises not to do it again and hugs him tightly, telling him not to be scared and suggesting he could let Miss Sue come up to keep him company if he likes her. A few minutes earlier, Zyochin had seen his boss drag the crying boy away, only to then spot the other identical boy calmly working at a desk. The second boy, rubbing his eyes, mutters about his bad dad not letting him find his mother. Zyochin is completely bewildered, and his confusion turns to pure shock when Huo Juniao returns 20 seconds later carrying the first boy. Seeing 2 identical children in the same room, the unbelievable truth finally hits him. Zyagyo rushes back downstairs and into the arms of his mother, who had stumbled down the stairs in her panic. She hugs him, asking if Huo Juniao hurt him. But then her eyes narrow with suspicion as she notices he's still in his pajamas. Sensing her doubt, the boy quickly changes the subject, asking if she wants to sleep before running off to play games. The next day, a maid tries to get Zyagyo to wear a frilly pink dress to meet the elders, but Zioshi, now in his sister's place, vehemently refuses. He hides behind his mother, who finds his behavior odd since her daughter usually loves dressing like a princess. Worried he'll arouse more suspicion, Zaiyoshi reluctantly agrees to wear the skirt. He stands there humiliated in pink lace and seizes the first chance to call his brother. Zayagyo is crying on the other end, terrified that their uncle saw them both and will reveal their secret. Zaiyoshi, ever the calm one, dismisses the man as a single-celled organism incapable of figuring it out. He hangs up as his mother calls him, ready to go. At the hospital, the family fawns over how cute Zayagyo is. But the resentful cousin seethes, blaming Su Nanqing for costing her the most outstanding graduate award. She mocks the family for being grateful to someone who merely sent an email and then left. The pleasantries are cut short when an elder remarks that while the girl is cute, her father must be a petty thug. Zaiyoshi instantly fires back that his dad is not a thug. His cousin smirks, adding that perhaps he's a despicable beggar since no decent man would have wanted their mother back then. A cold fury overtakes Su Nanqing as she grips her cousin's arm, her voice dangerously low as she asks if the beating she received last time wasn't enough. The confrontation erupts as Su Nanqing's father accuses her of being arrogant and crossing the line, while her grandmother warns her never to lay a hand on a child. The old woman then wistfully wonders what Nanqing's lost son, Zayagyo, would look like if he were still alive, a comment that instantly puts Nanqing on high alert. Her suspicion is confirmed when her father, Su Hongrui, dangles a company transfer document in front of her, his voice dripping with smug blackmail. He taunts her, claiming he's the only one in the world who knows where she can find her son, and that she must sign the papers if she ever wants that information. Desperate, Nanqing turns to her daughter Zayagyo, telling her that finding her brother is worth everything, even going bankrupt, a statement that shatters the little girl's heart. Just as Nanqing's hand hovers over the document, pen ready, Zayagyo rushes forward, screaming for her to stop and knocking the papers to the floor. Chaos ensues as her sister lunges for the child, threatening to beat her, but Nanqing moves faster, seizing the woman's wrist with an iron grip. The family argues that it's just a contract and can easily be reprinted, but Nanqing has reached her breaking point. Declaring the family emotionally unstable, she scoops up Zayagyo, determined to protect her from their toxicity. She instructs her grandmother to take everyone else back to the Su family house while she and Zayagyo head for a hotel. But as they leave, the grandmother secretly whispers for her other daughter to keep an eye on them. In the car, while Nanqing broods over her next move, Zayagyo discreetly uses a phone to send an anonymous email. Moments later, a notification appears on Nanqing's tablet, an email from an unknown sender claiming to know her son's whereabouts. Her eyes widen as she reads the message, a storm of hope and suspicion brewing within her. She immediately tries to trace the sender, but a formidable anti-hacking program activates on her screen, flashing a menacing skull before the signal is abruptly cut. The attempt nearly bricks her phone, leaving her shaken and wondering who could possibly be powerful enough to employ firewall software from the legendary international hacker Y. This new, mysterious lead changes everything. Arriving at the hotel, she coolly informs her waiting sister that she will not be signing the contract. Her sister grabs her arm in a rage, demanding to know if she's given up on her son. But Nanqing simply states that she's not stupid enough to believe her father wouldn't give her false information. She throws their offer back in their faces, telling them that if they want the company so badly, they can find her son for her. Suddenly, a commotion breaks out in the lobby as a man collapses unconscious. Nanqing instinctively sends Zayagyo upstairs, telling her she's going to check on the emergency. Elsewhere, the powerful CEO Huo is contemplating a recent attempt on his firewall by the hacker Q when his son, Zaiyoshi, interrupts him, proudly showing off a doll he dressed. Annoyed by the perfunctory praise, the boy pouts, forcing his flustered father to retreat to his study. Inside, an assistant delivers a report on Su Nanqing, detailing her mysterious 5-year absence after being exiled from her family, concluding that there's almost no chance she could be the legendary Dr. Anti. Their conversation is cut short by a call reporting a medical emergency in the lobby. A guest has stopped breathing. CEO Huo orders his assistant to investigate. Stepping out of his study, he finds the living room empty, save for a discarded doll on the floor. A maid informs him that the young master, Zaiyoshi, has gone next door. Next door, Zaiyoshi is being showered with designer clothes by a flamboyant man. Sifting through the pile of gifts, the boy's eyes land on a beautiful dress. He holds it up, his face alight with pure joy, and declares that he wants to try it on, leaving his uncle completely and utterly speechless.